laptop. I had to figure out how to write code. I had to figure out all these things. And sitting there, I was like, this is going to take months, right? This is going to take a long time. Now, as we'll get into, there are tools that are available today. I'm going to show you guys some of those. But it just meant that it was that much harder for me to finally decide I've had enough, right? And so I remember one day, we were doing, like punching these numbers in, and there's this process that I had to do that I basically was handed off to me every day at 4 p.m. I'd have to go over to this computer, basically a special terminal. This is a Bloomberg terminal for those familiar. Find this number, this rate for the day, take it back to an Excel spreadsheet, pop it in the spreadsheet, update a formula, do a bunch of manual stuff. I would mess it up sometimes. It would take 20 or 30 minutes. And every single day I knew at this time, it would interrupt my flow. It would interrupt whatever I was doing. And I was just like, a human being should not be having to do this every day. And I'm the type of person that drives me crazy. And so I think it was at that moment, kind of looking around, realizing there were a bunch of processes like these. There were a bunch of people that had to do these manual things, and it took away from their ability to actually create things or make things that were unique or novel, right? I said, okay, I'm buying a Python textbook. I'm buying a SQL textextbook. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to learn these tools, hopefully automate, some of the things that I'm doing. And I later learned that, like, hey, this is what it means to work in tech. It's kind of what led me down the path that I'm in today.
Yeah. You said something when we spoke earlier, and it was like, it was such a relatable moment, because I've even had it in my career when I left my job in consulting. And you said, at some point, you wake up and you say, what is the outcome if I work here for the next 5 years? And then you look at the people who've been there for 5 years, and you're like, I don't want that. If I'm actually on a path where in 5 years I'm not doing what I want to do, that's the scariest thing possible to me. Can you talk about that realization? And I get what you mean, because it's so vivid sometimes when you can see the person who's 3 levels up from you and like what their life is like.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny, I laugh because I'm hearing you read these things back to me, and it just kind of evokes that emotion, right? Like when I'm thinking about these types of things. And I think, very early on, I was talking with some friends, and we were talking about like what's the scariest thing? Like, what are you most afraid of, right? This is like a very deep, visceral question. It's hard to answer that honestly in front of people. And I sat and I thought about it, and I think my response was, my deepest fear is being the same as everybody else, right? Like, I don't want to be an NPC, right? Like, I have things about me, you have things about you. Everybody here listening has something unique about them that makes them completely different from any other human being on the planet. And I think about that in the context of what I'm doing, the way that I spend my time, showing up, doing something for 10 hours a day, right? Like, that's a lot of time. That's really precious. And that compounds over a year, 5 years, 10 years. And if you're not really attentive to what you're doing or where you're headed, right, you could go down the wrong path. And I have this constant pressure that, hey, what if I just go down the wrong path, or I just spend my time so focused on my work, I don't think about where I'm going. And then I wake up in 5 years and I look back and I think, I could be somewhere completely different. I could be accomplishing something that I didn't accomplish. I could be realizing these things about myself that are unique and using those to provide value to people or like move the needle on something bigger than myself. And so that's kind of where that quote came from and how I think about things. Is it good to be like worried all the time about this stuff? No, but I think some healthy concern for who you are, what makes you different, what you're capable of, the person that you could be if you apply intentional effort every day. I think these are all really important. And I think a lot of people, probably a lot of your viewers, are thinking the same thing.
I agree. It's funny, even as I listen to you, because you talk about not wanting to be like an NPC, and for you at that time, if we went back 5 years ago, it's like you're punching numbers into a spreadsheet. For me, 5 years ago, because I was a consultant, I'm like aligning columns on like slide decks, and like that was my version of the NPC. But you said something interesting. You said at that time it was like you had to go and learn Python or like a coding language in order to go and build something. Now it's different. Can you kind of talk about even your experience of like finding Replit, vibe coding, just you even kind of learning about that whole scene?
Absolutely. So kind of what you're saying, right? Back in the day, 5 years ago, even a year ago, the thing about that kind of grunt work is that someone had to do it, right? Like, we weren't fully there where it could be automated. Like, somebody had to align the columns in the PowerPoint. And if it wasn't you, it was going to be the person that was hired next after you. That's kind of one of the things that I realized is like, if I'm not punching the numbers in the spreadsheet, actually the next junior person that gets hired after me, I'm going to tell them to do that. I don't even feel good about that because I think it's nonsense, right? But today, you can do it with AI, right? Like, there are tools to be able to automate these things, even if you're not a developer. And so honestly, my journey to Replit started about a year and a half ago. I joined just because I was, in development, and Replit was a tool at that time that made it really easy to like deploy apps or to build apps. You still had to know how to code, right? A lot of the tools we're going to talk about today are brand new. Replit has only been doing what we're doing for like about a year at this point. But it was just a really simple, easy place to go from kind of idea to code to application. Now, with the release of a lot of these newer AI models, we've dropped AI on top of the Replit workspace. I'll show you how that works today. And now you can go straight from idea to application without the code. And so it was really this sort of fortuitous position that I was in, working on a great platform all of these AI models come out, and now I'm like, we need to show people how to build with AI on the platform. And our leadership at Replit kind of pivoted into the AI wave, and we built out a lot of really robust functionality on how to do just that.
Yeah, because we're gonna get into it. And I even read the quote out from Amjad, the founder of Replit, right in the beginning of like, anyone with an idea can now build software, which is like a crazy thing. Right. And so before we get into the steps and actually helping someone build their first products on Replit, I was doing some research, and I was even watching like podcasts before this one. And some of the stats about like Replit and the growth that you guys have experienced in the last 6 months is like mind-boggling. Just if I read this out. So the company, so Amjad actually came up with the idea like a long time ago. The company was formally founded in 2016. At the end of 2024, the company made $10 million in ARR. And then you release Replit Agent. Since then, the business has gone from 10 million to over $100 million in 5.5 months. From your vantage point, when you see something just take off in that way, right? What do you think is going on? Like, why has Replit Agent and what you guys have built, why has it caught on with people to the degree that it has? Okay, quick pause. If you're looking to build something, this segment is for you. I remember when I started my first business, I spent more time figuring out how to start than actually doing the thing. And I was using all of these different website builders and plugins, payment tools. It felt like I needed 5 platforms just to sell one thing. Then Shopify
with many other people, whether they were able to, create an app for their family, create an app for their business, all of these things. And everybody sees that. And that's why we've seen the growth that we have.
Yeah, I just want to get into it because I think a big part of the reason that I get really excited about these conversations is, to your point, the first kind of like barrier of entry when it came to building software was like, you had to be able to know how to code, or you had to have a lot of capital that you could pay someone who knew how to code. And so just that used to prevent so many people from being able to build things, even if they were creative, even if they had great ideas. But like with tools like Replit and some of the other things that we're seeing with AI, it's like anyone can do it. And so before we get into it, I'm curious, just like, are there just everyday examples of like people that you've seen just building things on Replit where it's like, if we even rewound like a few years, this person never would have been able to build this, but because of this agent, they've now been able to build something meaningful in their life? Like, maybe you can just show us some of that.
Yeah, for sure. So there are a ton of examples. I think Billy Howell is a great one. He's an entrepreneur. He builds his ideas for clients. So he'll just go out and pitch a bunch of clients like ideas for applications, and they'll be like, yeah, I need that, right? Or that would really help our business. And then he'll go to Replit. He'll build it super quick. He'll sell it to him. He has a business basically selling these applications. So he's a great example. Amjad was also recently just on Joe Rogan. He discusses a lot of those examples on that podcast. Just today, somebody posted a tweet. I'll actually share my screen real quick. We're going to do a lot of this today, but just passed 10K MRR using only Replit Developer app. It took 1 month to create an MVP to sell to customers, and it's been 3.5 months since we started. Our growth tripled from last month, and we are a team of 2. Thank you for your service. Obviously, the thank yous for the whole team, but these are examples of someone who has an idea. They're on a small team. They don't have the development resources. They don't have the capital, like you mentioned, to get started. And they can use Replit to leverage, right? It's technology. They're using technology to leverage their ideas. And it's now much more about the ideas that you have, your ability to actualize those ideas, than writing the code. And something I talk about every now and then is software development used to be really capital intensive, right? Like, hey, this is why you need to be venture backed. You need to raise a bunch of money and go hire a bunch of software engineers. And you have to pay them a bunch of money to then go create something. And I think at the end of the spectrum, that's still true, right? Like if you want like Uber, if you want an app that serves hundreds of millions of people, you need really good software engineering talent to build that. But to validate an idea, to build an MVP, to build a product now that maybe thousands of people use, or that can make you tens of thousands of dollars a month, you can just use Replit, or you can use another AI tool. And that means that the cost of investment to build a working application has fallen to almost just time and really good ideas.
I just want to get into it. If we were going to start like right in the beginning, for that person that they have an idea in their mind, or maybe they don't even have an idea in their mind, let's start even earlier, and they know that they want to build something. They're like inspired by this conversation and other things that they're hearing. They want to build something this week, this weekend. What is step 1?
For sure. So what I'll do here is we're going to walk through a 4-step process. But before we do that, I'm going to take a step back for the person that doesn't have ideas, right? Because I think if you get put on the spot, right? Like if you ask me right now what my favorite movie is, I don't know. I would kind of freeze up, right? So I get it. And ideas can be hard. But going back to the story I described earlier, and it seems like you were in a similar position. For those people that feel like they're capable of more, that feel like they're always thinking of new and clever ways of doing things, like you don't have to push too much. The ideas are going to come, I promise. And the most simple way that I find to do that is to just go through life and be observant. Like go to the store, just go do your normal life, go to the gym. And along the way, you're going to notice things that are inefficient or that you would probably do differently. Like maybe, you're tracking your workouts in like a Google spreadsheet and you're like, I don't know, I feel like I could do a better job. This doesn't like describe my workout exactly the way I want it to. Or you're writing your workout down in like a notes app. That's non-optimal. Or your to-do app, it doesn't store your groceries the way you want it to. Or you wish you got notifications when a certain thing happened, right? And that forms the basis of product, right? This is good product thinking. It's like, just observe the things around you and then think about how they could be better. And, I think this is old Steve Jobs quote. Steve Jobs said, your perspective on life, I'm paraphrasing here, it really changes once you realize that life is this thing that you can kind of like poke and something comes out the other end, right? Like life is not stagnant. You can change the things about your life that you don't like. And that starts with product and it starts with software, because you don't actually have to build anything like physical with software. You have a computer, you have Replit, as we'll get through today. You can just create ideas. So start thinking about life as this thing that is malleable, that you can change, and then observe all the different characteristics of your life that you would change. Because if you have an opinion, if you think something's different, should be different, I bet other people do too. And if you're going to go out there like I did and make the claim of, hey, I'm different, I'm not an NPC, I have all these creative ideas. Well, you need to be able to back that up with actual ideas. So this is kind of, more meta, but like, as you're thinking about the things that you're doing, think about what you would do differently. And then take those ideas, just write them down somewhere. And then on the weekend, hey, I have 15 minutes, I have an hour. Or after work, you're excited, I have an hour, 2 hours, sit down and Replit and prototype them out. That's exactly what I do. So that would be my idea for like coming up with ideas. I'm curious though, if you have any ideas for how you come up with ideas for things you want to build.
Yeah, just because I think that's such a good point. Just to kind of build on what you were saying, because I heard this from Dan Martell, and I actually spent a week doing this, which is you just get a notebook and you just write down like how you spend your time. And you do this, like you have like these check-ins like once or twice an hour, like how are you spending your time? And what you'll start to notice, and to your point, it's like we have to force ourselves to be observant, because we go through our lives and we kind of like take things for granted. Like there's so many things that we do that we're not even fully aware of. We're just on autopilot. And so you do this process of like writing down just how you're spending your time. What very quickly starts to become apparent is actually where you're wasting time, or like you had a pain point, or there was friction. And so it's like in those gaps, it's like the ideas start to come around. And it was funny, actually, we did, on the point of like pain points, we did an episode with Greg Eisenberg a few weeks ago. And he has this thing where he's like, anytime you're using a piece of software and you see an export button, there's like a multi-million-dollar idea that's just associated with like that export button. The thing he said, I have this thesis that when you're in SaaS software and you see an export button, that every time you see it, there's $100 million a year AI business that could replace that export button. So I guess those would be like my two. Yeah.
No, I love that. And I think it's important to understand what you do and to reflect on your life, because especially for people like me, probably for people like yourself, we're all busy, right? And when you're super busy, you got a lot of stuff to do, you're excited about what you're doing, you don't always take a step back and like detach and evaluate why you're doing what you're doing. And so it can be easy to kind of just get into this flow where you're not thinking about things, or you're just executing. And so I actually think it's hard, but just sitting kind of with nothing, or sitting with silence, or just going on a walk and just not even trying to think about anything, the things that'll pop into your mind. I think it's a combination of what you're saying, which is like reflecting, working hard, being involved in the problems, but then also detaching from time to time and really giving yourself the space to create. I would say even more than what Greg said though, anytime you see a SaaS, anytime you see software, period, there's $100 million idea there. And I think that that's because it's so easy to create software now. I think like a good example is like link in bio apps or whatever, right? That's just a website. You can build that on Replit in like 5 minutes. I'm going to show you an example today of building an app on Replit in a little bit more than 5 minutes, but it's going to be because we're having fun, not because we can't do it in 5 minutes. And so when you expand that and you combine it with the idea that the world is malleable, you can just do things. And there's all this existing software out there that was built by people that frankly are no better than the people watching this podcast. These are just normal people that built everything that exists around us. You can build great things too. And that's the mindset that you have to have going in. It's like, I can do this. We'll talk a little bit today about what that means and what failure means, because that's important as well. But it really starts from the mindset of I can create this thing. And even if I run into a little speed bump, I'm just going to keep trying. I'm going to persevere, and we're going to get something done. Yeah.
Okay. I love it. Because and here's my little prediction. So if we say that step 0 is just becoming more aware and like opening yourself up to actually having ideas through becoming more aware. My prediction of what's going to happen is that if the people listening at home, if they just spend a few days doing that, or maybe even a week, they're going to have like a list of potential ideas. How do you, and I'm curious for you personally, when you have that list of ideas, what is almost the way that you're thinking about it of like, okay, there's 20 ideas here. This is the one that I'm going to action on and actually build. Like what is that transition for you?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I would say, right, I think I'm a perfectionist. We'll take a step back. I want to do everything. I want to do it perfectly, and it has to be excellent. That is the type of person that I am. And so to tell me, right, hey, step one is actually just becoming more aware, I would say that's ridiculous. I need to do something. But right, like, but I think the counter to that is consistency and realism, right? So if you're working a full-time job, if you have a family, if you have all these things in your life, that step one might be perfect. And over everything that we discuss, consistency trumps everything. So if you work an hour a day for 10 years, that's going to be a lot more impactful in compounding than working 10 hours one day and then flaming out because it was just too much and like not getting anything done, falling off, and then you just drop it, right? So everything that I say is going to kind of be couched under that kind of consistency mindset and deliberate kind of practice mindset. So say I have a ton of ideas. I have a ton of ideas all the time. I have a to-do list with like 30 things on them. I'm not going to get everything done today, but that I'm going to recognize that. I'm going to say I'm going to work really hard today. And I'm going to pick up on it tomorrow. That's the first thing. And then second, I think we just bias action over everything. So it doesn't really even matter which idea. Say I want to learn how to use Replit. Well, which one of the ideas makes me the most excited? I'm going to pick that one and I'm going to sit down on a Saturday. I'm going to see if I can build it. And then if I can build it, I'm going to share it with people. And if I can share it with people, I'm going to see if I can turn it into a business, right? I would say start over everything. It's really more about consistency than it is picking the perfect idea.
Yeah, you know what's funny? In a way, like that is the most important thing. Like if you were just to take one thing from this conversation, I hope you take a lot more. But if you were just to take one thing from this conversation, that bias to action, and it's funny actually because I was having dinner with some friends over the weekend, and one of my friends, he has this craft. He's been working on it, like music. He's been working on it for years, like producing. And one of my other friends was like, have you released any of the songs or anything that you've made? And he's like, no, I'm just waiting just to get a little bit better. Like I'm working on this style right now. And it's like, it's been years. And it's one of those things, I even had to reflect on it on my journey, which is like a lot of people's dreams, it dies in like this perfectionism, like analysis, like just getting a little bit better, but like in complete private, like no one's heard it. It's not been shared. It's not been deployed. You know what? Let's get. I want to get into it. I know that you. Let's start whiteboarding. Like, let's start building some stuff.
Let's do it, man.
Okay, quick break. So it's been 4 months since I started using the 8 Sleep Pod, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I love this thing. We're in the thick of a humid New York summer, and usually that means I'm tossing, turning, sweating through the night. But with 8 drafts documents for you, and it's so convenient because it has all of the best AI models like ChatGPT or Claude built right into it.
We're going to plan out what we want to build. This is really important, right? Because maybe we don't have that idea. We need to figure out what we want to build. And I can guarantee you, when you sit down and you write out what you want to build, it will be more complicated than you think. And a lot of people fail at building with AI because they're like, oh, well, I just want, an app that, tracks my workouts. And then they type in the prompt, build me an app that tracks my workouts. AI is like, it's like you're explaining instructions to someone that knows nothing about what you want. You're not going to get what you want if you just type that in. And it's quite likely that you'll get something that breaks. So the very first thing I like to do, especially for new folks, is plan. We're going to do that together. Then I like to prompt, right? So we're going to think about our plan and translate that into English. We don't have to get into how AI models work. We can talk about that a says, or people on the internet, there are errors. You will fail. You will run into issues. The funny thing is that that's exactly what engineering is. Maybe engineers don't tell you this stuff, but most of doing hard things is just dealing with problems and solving problems. And I bet everyone here listening, if you have a job, if you have a family, something in your life is probably imperfect. And at some point, you have to do hard things to get around that thing. That engineering is no different from that. Building is no different from that. Building with AI is no different from that. And what that means is that you have to have a little bit of resolve. You can't just give up as soon as a hard thing happened. I bet everybody watching the show has overcome hard things at some point in their life. Maybe they sit around and think, how can I to practice that? How can I get better? How can I be more resilient or have more resolve? Building software, creating applications is a great way to practice that. because there are problems. Replit makes this pretty easy, pretty straightforward. This is actually the simplest part, taking what we built and putting it on the internet so that other people can access it. Now, there's some follow-up steps to that, making sure things are secure, etc., that we'll discuss, but that are a little bit more time-consuming. So that's important as well. But we're going to follow these 4 steps. And if you're someone thinking, oh man, I don't even know where to get started, and you want to do this on your own after the video, follow these steps, follow along with what we're doing. I think you'll kind of pick up what we're putting down. So I'm going to share an idea. I was brainstorming this one earlier. It's actually thinking about meditation. And I bet a lot of your viewers are interested in maybe meditation or meditation tracking. I was thinking about like an app that has maybe 3 pages. So I drew this out. So we have like our Zen meditation app. Maybe there's some guided exercises, maybe box breathing, which is just a meditation practice, 478, just a time session, maybe some other things that I don't even know about. That might flow into a timer where we can add maybe some background noise or interval bells. And then maybe we get some sort of usage statistics or tracking out of that, right? And I bet a lot of you have used a similar app before. Maybe you've used an interval timer, and you probably looked at it and you thought, I could make this better. I could do something that would make this closer to what I want, so what I want to build. Now, this is what I was talking about before, right? In planning, what do we want? The essence of all of the things we're talking about, AI, it's making it easy to express your ideas. But if you don't understand what your ideas are in the first place, how are you going to translate that to AI? And so, what are we building? Well, we're building a meditation web app with customizable sounds, interval bells, and session tracking. We want to be able to save sessions, timers, and goals. Now, I'm going to talk through what this means really quick here, and then I'm going to pause just to make sure we're all aligned. But you might look at that, you might say, great, I'm going to type that in the prompt box. I think this is a really important step in planning. We have to break down what this means, right? Like, think about it like, like Legos, right? We're assembling all the pieces. We need to figure out what the pieces are in order to build this thing. And I talk about the difficulty in building with AI a lot. It's actually like, it's more than just being a developer, because you're planning out the entire product. You're being a director. You're like the CEO, and you're the developer, and you're the marketer, and you're all of these things. You're running your own little team here. Well, for our app, if we want to save sessions and access them later, right, like our meditation sessions, we need somewhere to put that data, which means you kind of something called a database. You don't really have to worry about that. We'll talk about it later. But you need somewhere to store the data, and a lot of tools, they don't actually have a way to do that. You need a way for people to save those sessions in the first place. So like a front end kind of interaction. It's like a web page, a way for users to log in. That's actually a complicated problem. In of itself. You need sounds, right? Like we need our little meditation bell. Or our background music. Where are we going to get that? And then maybe we want it to be mobile friendly. And there's something called a progressive web app. You don't really have to know about that either. But that's what allows sort of some really good mobile friendliness on the iPhone. Other things, you might want tools to make sure your app's secure, or a way to sell your app to other people, especially if you want to make money. These are all things that set Replit apart from some of the other tools out there. Now, why do I bring this up? I bring it up because people hear terms like database, they hear terms like maybe progressive web app, they hear terms like user authentication, session management, et cetera, and they get overwhelmed. They say, hey, I'm not a software developer. This is very common. However, those things don't matter. It doesn't matter because the whole essence of building with AI is just understanding the puzzle pieces that you have to fit together. It's not really about like Legos, right? It's not about understanding the nuances and intricacies of how these things actually would be implemented. It's understanding maybe just the concept or the idea of like what it is, right? If you notice something's wrong with your car and you just know enough about cars to tell, oh, my battery's probably dead, it'll save you a lot of money just to go buy a battery and switch it out, which is like maybe not the hardest thing to do, versus going to a dealership and having them analyze your whole car and like all of these other issues, right? So it's about understanding concepts and things at a high enough level that then you can debug that on your own. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna just context for you, Matt. I'm gonna jump in even as you're kind of like going through this stuff, and I'm gonna be kind of like that complete beginner that's like asking the question. And so one of the things actually, as you were going through it, you used a few terms. You said like being the director almost of building your product and understanding all of these different components and how they fit together. And you even kind of outline some of them. And it's interesting because I have no background as like a product manager or even like something. And a lot of the things that you mentioned, I would have taken as you're like, and I'm thinking about that person, you know, up until this point in their life, they've been the consumer of apps. They haven't been the person actually behind the scenes building them. How are you actually figuring out, okay, this is exactly what I have to plan before I build versus, you know, I can just kind of, you know, deploy the thing first and then iterate later? Like, what is almost like the minimum that someone needs to have in place before they can start building?
Yeah, so I mean that's great, right? That's a great question because, and also I appreciate. Please do interrupt because otherwise I'll just be talking. That's boring, and we need some live commentary. So, you know, the exercise I'm going through is just to conceptualize my idea, and I wouldn't get too hung up on the specific technologies because Replit does handle a lot of that for you. But really, the exercise is just to understand if this is possible, right? So, for example, here's an example that I get a lot. Somebody's like, "Hey, how do I build an iOS app on Replit?" That's actually possible. And I have tutorials on how to build a prototype for an iOS app, but it's hard. Why is it hard? It's really hard because to get an app on the App Store, you actually have to pay Apple $100 and you have to go through all these hoops and then your app has to get reviewed and there's like a lot of back and forth. And so, right, if you understand at the get-go, okay, well, like that's actually really hard, like maybe you can refine that down into an MVP or something simpler, where you just try and build out, again, the MVP. You said the minimum lovable product. I would call it a minimum viable product. So that, right, you have 30 projects. You don't pick one and then you get 5% of the way there, but it's such a gigantic project that you kind of fall off. So when I think about this planning stage, what I'm doing here is I'm thinking, how do I express the simplest possible version of this app? And then how do I kind of like break it down to understand if this is worth, like how long this is going to take me, right? So like what we're talking about here, when I'm saying MVP, maybe I'm like, hey, you know what? Actually, this is actually a little too hard right now. We only have 30 minutes. Let's focus on just a way for users to log in and some sounds and mobile friendliness, right? So when I'm thinking about this, I'm really just thinking, what is that quick win that I can get that's going to get me excited so that I can really nerd out? Because then when I really nerd out, I'm going to want to go the distance, or I'm going to want to sink more hours into this rather than saying, hey, actually, day one, you know what? Actually, we have to build out the entire product. It goes back to the consistency piece.
Yeah. You know what, actually, as I was just thinking, and I'm interested to hear what you think about this, Matt, is because I think it kind of, one of the things that I like doing is almost getting like a frame of reference, like having like another similar product that you can then kind of focus on and pick apart. And so almost, I kind of like that idea of like stripping a lot of the features back and like focusing on one thing. And because there's a ton of meditation apps out there, right? And so you could focus on like one key feature or one key improvement that you're like, okay, I just want that to be present in my app. And to your point, that's like your first
right now watching TV
win, like figuring out how to express that to the Replit. I'm completely missing the mark.
Exactly. That's exactly. Actually, it's like, okay, we have this, right? Well, how do I just turn that into a little prompt? And so this is like prompt building 101. So we're planning and now we're going into prompting, right? And so to kind of tie it all together, maybe to your point, what a meditation app, Agent probably knows what a meditation app is. How do we make this different? How do we set it apart, right? And like maybe, hey, there wasn't an app with box breathing. I like to work out. Maybe it's an interval timer. I've had a really hard time of finding interval timers that have customizable intervals that match exactly what I like to do. So maybe you have a special meditation practice that you're like, hey, other people need to know about this thing. I'm going to build an app that's like every other meditation app, and then I'm going to remix that. I'm going to riff on it. That's actually one of the most powerful things for coming up with ideas that we didn't talk about. That is like, pick something, copy it, and then do it better. Like, I think now is a really great time to be able to do things like that. And if you're really like, man, I'm stumped, I will say you can just use other AI tools. So like go to Claude, say, hey, help me think through how I build a meditation app. Claude's going to write something down for you. We don't want to just copy and paste this verbatim. I think this is important with AI. We'll get into this a little bit more. You shouldn't just be mindlessly dumping stuff into AI and then copying and pasting it. You should be really thinking about what you want. But like, I'd approach building this app by defining the core user experience. What did we just do? We defined the core user experience, then building out the technical foundation and content strategy. And so like, this is how you can start to learn how to think from first principles, right? Describe from first principles what I'd have to do. There's no excuse anymore because like this is the free plan of Claude. You can go to Claude and have it walk you through how to think about all of these things. And so, I'm sure listeners of your podcast are getting a ton of information already just by viewing. But like any problem that you have in your life, you can go and say, help me approach this thing logically. Help me break this down because I'm, it's a really big goal. Like I want to build an app that I can quit my job and like focus on building this app for full time. That's a big goal. And so, we see a lot of people successful with Replit, but I don't want people to learning how to do these things. And it can happen a lot faster thanks to AI today, but it's still about learning the skills. However, you can use AI to learn skills.
Yeah. I actually love the point of going to other AI tools and was like asking whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or like whatever the thing is, and asking it questions and actually helping it, like letting it help you guide you through the process. Because I think a lot of the times, and I felt this, when you're building something, especially when it's for the first time, you 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 know obviously come across a point where you're like, I don't really know what to do next. And it's not really that you don't know what to do next. It's like there's some questions that if it was asked to you, you probably have an answer, and then you just pursue that answer. And so it's actually this very helpful process of like, just have the AI ask you questions or like guide you through the process. That's going to clarify your thinking, and then you can take that clear thinking to Replit.
Exactly. And I want to encourage that. There are so many tools out there. There's so many things. Use all those tools to build up a plan. And then we're going to walk through how to build something in Replit. But people get stuck and they're like, Matt, like, I don't even know where to start. And I'm like, just go search Google, ask ChatGPT, ask Gemini, ask Claude, do whatever you have to do to get the information. These are things like typically you used to have to read a book to learn, or you have to go to a library or do a Google search. You can do them in 15 seconds today. We're going to talk more about that in the context of building this app. But this is like the prompt that I sat down from our plan and I said, came up with. I was like, well, how do I instruct AI? We'll break this down. Help me create a meditation app. It should feature different meditation presets like box breathing or timed practices. I'm giving an example. Hey, I want different presets. What does a preset look like? Well, I know box breathing. And then the next sentence, do research on popular meditation techniques to incorporate them into our app. Now, this is a feature unique to Replit. It can do web search. So it's actually going to go out and do the research for us. So now we're in a point where, right, you can actually start to rely on AI for some of these concepts, right? I talked about breaking down our ideas, but you can also ask Replit, go find those ideas for me. Then the next part of this prompt, the timer should be the core piece of functionality. So do research on techniques for adding a timer to a browser, right? Like, I'm Matt, I don't know how this stuff works. I just want you to figure out the best way to do it. And I want you to do it in a way such that the user can engage with it over longer periods of time, right? Because if we have a timer running in a browser for 50 minutes, I don't want the timer to like stop while I'm meditating. I'm just too zen. I'll meditate for 2 hours and be like, what happened? I need it to continue working and to pull me back in. And I'm saying, hey, make the app hyper minimalist to be distraction free and zen. So we're being very descriptive about what we want to build here. And from that description, now we're going to get into Replit, right? So now I'm sharing Replit.
Just super quick, no, because I do want to go into Replit and actually like making the magic happen. But first, I had to ask this, and I had to ask this because of like, I was that overthinker and that person that would get like stuck in the planning phase of a business, and so I just want to address it head on. For that human being, is there like a point in the planning process where you know that you're actually ready to take the idea to Replit? Because here's my concern is that people will just keep planning and keep talking with Claude or ChatGPT, and it's like, or doing research, like whatever the procrastination is, versus just building. And so like, what to you is the sign of like, no, you're ready to actually just go and build the thing?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question, right? I have a concrete idea. I know something that I want, and I know the pieces of that idea, and I can write them down in like, what is this, like 10 sentences? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences. If you can write it down 5 sentences, I just say send it. And you know what? The cost of compute is so cheap. The cost of AI today, you have to pay for this stuff. It's not free, unfortunately, but it's so little. Like, to validate this idea, it probably would have took me like probably a morning, at least 4 hours or something, to spin up an app that might do this. Today, it can take 15 minutes. So if you think an idea is even remotely ready, just go to Replit and click start and just like see what happens, see what comes out of it. I do that all the time. Sometimes I'll spin up a couple tabs and fire off a couple different prompts just to see what I get. And because AI is doing the work, and like, we have Replit on the desktop, we have it on your phone as well. You can do everything that we'll do today in the browser on your phone. Like, don't worry about it. I definitely bias action. I'm doing the planning so you can understand like how to basically get a good output most of the time. I can break that down more conceptually. I have a little slide prepared. But don't sit around and plan too much, right? If you're watching this video, first night you do this, you can follow along with me. By the end of the video, you'll have an app. If you're thinking like, I have an hour, you should have an MVP. Maybe it works 10% of the time. Maybe you learn what doesn't work. And the way I learn is by doing this stuff. And figuring out what doesn't work sometimes is a lot harder than figuring out what does work. And the only way you learn that is by trying.
Yeah, you said it so good, and it reminded me actually of something Riley said when we did the episode with him, Riley Brown. And when he said it like this, it kind of like clicked for me. He was like, the process I'm going to show you, it's not like it's steps, but it's not like a linear step-by-step process where you do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It's like you might get to step 3 and then all of a sudden go back to step 1. Like, you might go and deploy the thing and be like, actually no, and then go all the way back to the planning phase and then go back to back to deployment. And it's kind of this mindset switch with actually using AI, where it's like moving between these different steps is actually much more fluid. And so we've done step 1, which is plan. step 2, prompt, and then step 3 is perfect it. I guess let's maybe we can hit fire on this and see what we get.
Amazing. So I have some ideas. We're gonna fire this off. I don't want people to wait too much longer, and then we're gonna jump back into some conceptual things that tie into what you just said because it's really important. It is not linear. You fail. Maybe the best course of action is starting over, and we'll talk about that as well. So I had this prompt. I kind of crafted it. We didn't spend too much time waiting around. The first thing Replit Agent's going to do is going to make a plan. So we send it. This is the first screen that you'll see, and it's going to agent saying, "Hey, I'm going to help you create a plan for this app." We planned. Now we're giving a plan to agent. This is the implementation details of our application. And now what you'll see down here is it's searching the web. So agent's going to search the web. It's going to come up with a plan for us, and then it's going to show us that plan. That typically takes 1 or 2 minutes. So while this is happening, we're going to come back and we'll see everything that's happening. I'm not going to skip any steps. I want to talk about what you just said. Most of the things you've done in your life, right? Maybe you go to school, you go to a job, and there are steps that you do in order. And if you do those steps, you get an outcome. So like maybe you press buttons and then something happens. And you kind of learn, hey, if I do this thing, if I do X, then I get Y. AI is not like that, right? So if we have X or know what like a distribution is or what it means for things to be random, AI is like a little random. Think about the outputs, quality. There's some likelihood that you get an app of a given quality. And so we can mark this up a little bit, right? Maybe most of the apps that you get are here, right? Like there's a high likelihood that the quality is like average from a given prompt. But then there's some likelihood because AI is like a little random. Obviously at Replit, we're trying to make these results as good as possible. Some of your apps might be really great. Some of your apps might not be really great. And that just might be because AI makes errors sometimes. And I've done this live on podcasts before. I try to build something and it breaks, and it's really embarrassing. So what I'm trying to emphasize is the same prompt is going to get you different results. Some of them might not work. Some of them might work really well. And there are things we can do to increase quality and likelihood of success. And that's what I'm explaining to you in this video. But that doesn't mean you won't fail sometimes, right? This is like sports. If you ever played a sport, if you play baseball, I played baseball. You bat 300. That just means you literally get out 70% of the time and you're a great baseball player. Think about it like that, right? Like not everything is going to work. It's not going to work all the time. I'm not saying you're going to fail more than you succeed, but what I am saying is that you might fail. And the implication of that is that we can't be afraid to fail, right? We can't be afraid to start over. And the secret of being an engineer is actually failing a lot. And so like there's this concept of variance, which just means like there's a likelihood associated with these problems.
And I was having that exact thought of like, sometimes I'll wake up and I'll use ChatGPT or other AI tools, and it's like the answers it's giving me are so perfect and so great. And then other times I'll wake up and I'll be using it and it's like completely off the mark. And to your point, it's like we have to kind of get our minds around, and it was even an adjustment for me. There's not like a perfect way to use these tools. There's not like a perfect prompt, and they're unpredictable. So sometimes it's like it's firing, sometimes it's not. And so the important thing is that can you correct it? Like, can you almost like correct the ship to your point? And obviously we're going to get into how people can do that.
Yep, and that's perfect. So if there are people here who use ChatGPT, it's all about context. When I say context, I mean the information you give to the app. In our case, it was a prompt, right? Like this is the context that the AI has. Sometimes it could be a link, as we'll see later on in this episode. Sometimes it could be an image. It's about the context that we give to AI. So I want to break down exactly what's happening here. And then we're going to jump into the building. So agent said, I'm going to help you create this thing. And then it searched the web for meditation techniques, right? So now it's like learning about meditation, and it's going to integrate those into our app. And based on the research, it gathered information about the app, and then it created a visual preview of what our app might look like. So this isn't actually a working application, but it is a preview. And it tells us exactly what it's going to include in the application. A robust timer system, meditation presets, customizable timer durations, visual breathing guides, pause, resume, session completion, progress tracking. That's perfect. That's a lot of what I wanted, and this looks good. So when I click approve plan, we're going to get dropped in the workspace, and agent's going to start working. See this little message down here. And what it's going to do basically is build out this visual preview. Because this is just a preview, it's not going to look exactly like this, but agents using this basically. And when I say agent, that's just our automated developer. You can think about it like a junior software developer or something that can build apps. It's going to use this preview for what it's building. And so conceptually, I want to talk about what's going on because this can be confusing to a lot of people. I noticed that a lot of people kind of don't understand just how cool this is or why it might be different. I'm on replit.com here. I didn't install anything on my computer. I didn't have to install Python. I didn't have to, learn what Python is. I didn't have to install JavaScript or maybe some of these other things you hear about. And I just created a workspace, and now I have this autonomous developer that is writing files to build a thing that looks like what's on my right. And so this is a pretty user-friendly display. I would like to think it's pretty user-friendly. It can always be better. But under the hood, if I click open files, there is code being written here. And that's important for a few reasons, because at some point, say you have a wildly successful app, maybe you hire a team of developers. Well, you need to give them the code. Or maybe you want to learn more about how to write the code. You can ask Agent or Assistant, another tool in the workspace, explain to me what this is, right? Explain to me how this app works. Explain Python backend engineering. It's very different from front-end engineering, building these apps. But I learned that through AI, through okay, I'm going to build this thing, and I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to go in, and I'm just going to look at files. And after the course of months and years, you're going to understand what they're doing, and you're going to write that code on your own. So if you want to learn, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, this is actually really important for learning. If you don't want to learn and you just want to build cool stuff, that's the whole point of this episode, and so that you can just build cool stuff. But just like I talked about learning how a car works, starting to understand how things are organized can be really helpful. And that's going to be a major theme of this video as well.
Yeah, you know what, and this is why I was actually really excited to bring you on, is because we've had guests come on the show and they take us through Replit and they show certain things. The cool thing with you is you actually work at Replit and are part of building this stuff, and so just your knowledge of the agent and of the platform is on another level. And so I have this thing, I think what kind of separates a beginner from an expert is the expert has so much experience that they're just aware of certain things and features that for a beginner, someone starting out like myself or someone listening, it's we wouldn't even think about. And so what are even some of the features or the aspects of Replit that a lot of the times you see people entirely ignore, but if they took it into account, it would be tremendously valuable, even if they're just building their first product?
100%. This thing, this environment that we're in right now, it's like a computer. Think about it like a computer. It's running in the cloud. We're accessing it through our browser. But what that means is that this is going to get a little technical, right? But there is a shell. If I want to go over to here and type in shell, this is the command for listing files. I have a file system. So under the hood, this platform has access to everything a developer could do. So what I'm showing you right now are things a developer would do. Maybe they want to install languages. Maybe they want to configure that environment. Our agent is doing all of those things. And people take this for granted, right? If you're building, if you build something like Claude, you can build an artifact or whatever, or some other tools. What you don't realize is that's not actually an environment. It's not how a developer would build an app. And that's why it's really hard to get that thing running. Maybe you have to, if you tried to build anything before, you have to figure out how to set it all up on your own computer. You have to figure out how to add a data source. I'm going to show you exactly how to add a data source. You have to figure out how to do all of these things. All of these things that Replit offers kind of for free because it's built on the platform. And the platform is the thing that's really powerful. And so I think a lot of people get confused when they come in here and they see Replit because they don't understand actually gated infrastructure. And then we just gave AI access to it. And so the other platforms out there don't have access to all the different tools, right? And that's a really big differentiator. What it means to deploy something, what it means to add a database. These are all things that sometimes people take for granted. What it means to run a project in Replit is the fact that I could take this and open up my phone. I mean, we'll see if this works right now. I'm pretty sure I'm logged in. And if I go to my apps on my phone, refresh it, and then open up what we're building, you can maybe you can see this. This is the same workspace, actually, that's running on my phone. So in real time, I can see what I'm building because it's in the cloud, right? And so then if I say I had a lift coming, I just take my phone with me and I can keep prompting and keep building, keep seeing what things are doing. And so real time, you can build in a completely isolated environment. You can take it with you on the go, and it has access to all the same tools a developer would have access to. Which as we build out this app, you're going to see enables some pretty powerful things.
Yeah. Okay. You know, I I want to continue for people and go a bit deeper. If someone seeing the plan, because I'm just even thinking about the person sitting at home doing this right now, and you're like reviewing the plan, you're like, okay, this sounds good. Like, at what point are you actually hitting go on it? Like, what is kind of giving you pause? Like, what is making you go back to the drawing board versus just like, okay, let me just run this and see what it comes out with?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just send it most of the time. I just do a quick glance to make sure it's not like do something crazy, right? Like I just want to make sure there's nothing in the plan that is too complicated. I'm actually thinking from simplicity. I'm like, is this plan simple enough? Because I want something that works on the first run. And so I'm really thinking, is this simple enough? I'm basically looking for things that I would want to remove, not add necessarily. So just most of the time I'm just sending the plan, to be honest with you.
What is an example of something like if you did see it, it would be like a red flag? Like you would actually be like, okay, I actually want to remove that.
Yep, I think about complexity. I think an overarching theme, hopefully, that you get from this example is simplicity over everything. I talked about consistency already over everything. If I see that it's trying to build out, right? Like if I'm trying to build Uber and I'm like, how do I get 1 million people to use my app? That's going to be really complicated. I just want a timer that works here. That's what we're going to get to. So that would be like my example, right? Like if you start to see really complicated architectures, things that like you're not understanding or that are unrelated to your vision, start with MVP, boil it down to the simplest possible thing that you can create, and then start marching towards that step by step. Because again, the goal here is to get to something that works. The way I think about it is like to tinker. It's a lot easy to tinker if you have something that works. So we want to get to the simplest possible thing that works, and then iterate to build something really cool. That's like, hey, look, if I want to understand how a clock works, I can just take a clock off the wall. You know, like back in the day, old school analog clocks, right? It's easier to open up something, open up a piece of electronics, open up like a mechanical watch, and look at it and see like, oh, I can see how those things fit together, and I can think about what I would want to add, versus spending all this time planning, spending all the time building from scratch, building a completely new clock because you're just into being really complex. You know, I think if we can just start from the simple pieces, that's the best bet.
Yeah, it's almost like, okay, what is the core feature, and then making sure that core like hit go, and then we can kind of talk about like the step 3, which is perfect.
Of course, yeah. No, let's dig into it, right? So, you know, Agent ran this. It took about, we were talking the whole time. It took a couple minutes, I would say. You know, like the first thing is it's a timer. So if I hit play, the timer, number one, this doesn't appear to work. So you're gonna see in real time, right? Like we're building something here. This is
what we want.
different.
Yeah.
Right. So we have the layout. It's telling us to inhale and hold. It looks like every 4 seconds. Exhale, right? That's box breathing. So if you don't know box breathing, it's inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4. That's kind of the pattern, right? So that's actually working. So it's keeping track of the time, but it doesn't look like it's actually updating the state. This might seem pedantic. This is important, right? Because what we're going to talk about now is actually the process of debugging. And that's like a really important skill in vibe coding, in building your ideas. And so I'm going to switch over to a different tab. What is debugging? What do I mean when I say sorry?
And just quickly, because you said you had such a great quote on this. I just wanted to read it out before you go deeper. You said, you try something. When you debug with AI is the moment you start believing you can build anything.
Totally agreed. Totally agreed. You know, and so actually more than before I'll switch back over to Agent. And I'll say like the timer isn't working. That's actually not descriptive enough. The timer isn't counting down. But I see the box breathing, like assistant moving. I'm being very descriptive about what's going on. And can you fix it? So the thing about Agent is that it has access to this entire environment. So behind the scenes, what's going on is there's like you can look at the console and actually see like the console is just a place that shows you what the server of the database or the application does, right? Then there's a front end kind of console as well. And what you'll see is that Agent is saying, I need to fix the timer countdown issue. I can see there's an LSP error in the storage layer. I don't even know what the heck that is. I'm not too worried about it, but it's going to look at it and start fixing things. Now it's saying I need to examine that timer logic a bit more closely. I think it might be this thing or that thing. So you can learn, and this is all kind of complicated. You don't have to worry about too much. But now you can see that Agent is going through these things. It's testing them to make sure that works properly, seeing some React errors, and it's actually doing the debugging work for me, right? It's doing a lot of the nitty-gritty for me. How do I tie this back to what I was going to say before? Debugging is a process of observation. We're finding bugs in the app and then we're removing them. And at the simplest, right, maybe you have a lamp that doesn't work. The first thing you ask, the question you ask is the lamp plugged in? Now, with AI, let's talk about without AI. You'd have to go look if the lamp is plugged in. Now, with AI, you can say, is the lamp plugged in? AI is going to figure it out for you because agent has access to that environment, right? So I sent that command. It's like going through and basically debugging the application for me. But the thing I had to do, we talked about context, was provide context. I had to visually inspect my app and say, what isn't working? And I had to break that down logically. Hey, this part of the application isn't working, but this other part is. To AI to kind of get to the root of the issue, right? And tell the LLM, tell the system what's wrong. And that flows into context, right? Like context can be the prompt that we provide to AI, but it can also be images, documentation, errors, other details about the application that AI doesn't know about. So all we're doing is giving context to AI to help it debug. And we're building this app. This is another great example because I built this app before this podcast. Obviously, I want to make sure that it works, and it worked on the first time. And now, of course, I do it live and it doesn't, but that's like part of it, right? So we're having fun together. I talked about the countdown timer not working. I click it, and now it works, right?
Yeah.
And this is simple. This is like maybe you're saying, hey, Matt, that should have just worked on the first time anyway. You're probably right. I'll take this back to the team. But these are the foundations of what I want to talk about because you're going to build apps and you're going to be like, why doesn't this thing work? Why does this other thing work? I don't know, right? Like, does the pause button work? Yes. Does the stop button work? It does. It resets. And when I press start, now I'm getting this nice little countdown. Did we break anything else, right? You might be asking, can I go through and start box breathing? The box breathing timer works. Hold, 2, 3. It's going according to our rhythm. Perfect. So I really like this. It looks like for the most part it's working. The hard part, right, is how do we track these sessions? How do we make it so that anybody can log? It's difficult. And it's something that we're going to need to work through.
Yeah. And, I think I wanted to read it again when you said that moment when you debug with AI is the moment you start believing you can build anything. And it really just stuck out to me because I think that a lot of people get discouraged. And I can even imagine for myself, I would get discouraged if you watch a video like this, you rush out because I want to spend a few minutes talking about I think the thing that in a way builders sometimes dread, which is marketing, actually getting people to use or getting your first few users. But before we get into all of that, in terms of because I can imagine it for me, if I launched it and it's now live on the internet, the first thing that I would think of is actually almost the design, how it looks. Is there a way to say that there's certain websites that I really like the look of? I can actually go back into Replit and be like, okay, I really love the way that the Apple page is designed, or Nike, or Warby Parker, or whatever the brand is, Airbnb. Is there a way that it can actually almost design this page so it looks a bit more aesthetic, so it looks a bit more similar to something that I might see from other
Absolutely.
bigger brands?
Absolutely. And I think I would have loved to get into this a little bit earlier. There's some other features I kind of planned to build out. But one thing I want to drive home is that you can give all kinds of context to agent. So, say we see a timer that we really like. Hey, here's one, right? Maybe I want my timer to look a bit more like this. I just took a screenshot of that page and I'm going to go back to Replit and I'm going to paste that screenshot in and I'm going to say, make it look like this. Or even one step further, right? What if we just have the URL, mattstimer.com? You type in the URL and you can click take screenshot. And then you get a screenshot of the application. So you can take screenshots, provide them as context. You can just type in a URL and provide them as context. Some apps, right? If the app doesn't if the URL doesn't exist, right, that would fail. You can do a couple other things, right? So I was thinking, hey, maybe I want to add white noise to this app. Well, I found a site with white noise on it. Download the audio and add it to our app. I can paste in that URL where you can start over with new information, sharing things with other people. These are things that if you build those muscles, you're going to get really good at. And you might not get users immediately, but you will eventually. you're YouTube famous. You're much more YouTube famous than I am, right? Like, I'm sure the first few videos you made, getting users is no different from getting like views on a video, right? You have to get people's attention. This is where product gets into marketing, right? I have to solve a problem that matters to you. And the solution has to matter enough that you say, that way that I've been doing things for 10 years, I'm done with that. That way that I've been doing things my entire life, I want to try out this new product. And that's really hard to get people to do because most people, they just want to do things the same way. Your idea has to, and execution has to make people say, I want to try this thing. And this thing is better than the way I did things before, right? And it's the same thing with like a YouTube video in a very micro context. This video is worth my time, right? And that's like, most people, they care about their time. And so I'm sure like the first videos I made, nobody watched, nobody said anything about them, but you do it over and over again and you look at it and you refine your craft and you make the product better and you make your process better and you make how you share it better with people and you make it more attention grabbing and you make it more informative and more educational. And then eventually you wake up and you're like, wow, people want to view my stuff. They want to use my product. So it's all consistency, simplicity, execution.
You know, you said something, you mentioned it several times. It's been like a reoccurring theme of not just building, but actually sharing it with others. And it's really interesting because I've been paying attention to a lot of the people that have been like vibe coding and building products and like been successful at doing it with AI. And there's a part of their marketing strategy, which I love, which is they kind of build in public. And so like, as they're building the thing and they're coming across bugs or they're coming across issues or like they have a 2-3 hour session of using like a Replit and they get to a certain sticking point, it's like they're documenting the whole thing and then they'll share like updates with people on Twitter. And it's like this really effective way of doing this like very subtle marketing where it's like, as you're building the rocket ship, it's like you're telling people like, yeah, this thing just fell off, like the rocket exploded, like the engine didn't work. And it's like gradually building that base. And then once you launch it, there's actually like a base of people that have been following the entire journey and are like ready and willing to be those first few users that you need. It's like this very organic, just authentic approach to marketing.
Yeah. And if we're talking about how that ties into marketing, right? It's building a brand because we are all different human beings. And like the people ask me, they'll say, oh, like I had this idea for content and I just didn't start. This goes back to the perfectionist mindset. Oh, well, like I had this idea for conversation or a video. One really good friend of mine, she was like, hey, let's just go have a conversation. And we had the conversation. It was an amazing conversation. And she was like, yeah, I've always wanted to start a podcast. And I was like, just get people in front of you and do what you just did with me now, because that's excellent, right? And so when you think about building a personal brand, you just go out there and I am me on Twitter. If you go follow me on Twitter, on YouTube, like hopefully it comes across, this is just who I am. And as it would turn out, people like people a lot more than they like faceless, nameless brands, right? And so if you can be yourself, you're going to find other people. Maybe it's not like, tech nerdy stuff. That's who I am. But maybe you really love sports, or you love basketball, or you love, I don't know, going outside on a hike, whatever. If you can express that, you're going to attract other people who like the same thing and that want to be around you because you give off good energy. And so that's my approach to like marketing. There are all these things written about how to market to different types of people, but at the end of the day, it's just being authentic. And building in public is really powerful because you go out and you show people and you fail. Now, the important part, right, is you learn from your mistakes. Every time I fail, that's actually an opportunity for content because I'm like, oh, my app broke. I'm going to show people how they can avoid this same process. And then this is like, I like to do, how do I do one thing that does like a lot of things? Well, I'm going to go build something. I'm going to fail. Along the way, I'm failing, but I'm also learning. And then I'm not only learning, but I'm creating something to help other people. And so you're creating stuff, you're learning, and you're sharing it with other people, which then helps them, builds a personal brand, and is quote unquote like marketing technically. Man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's like kind of like this irony to like doing content and marketing is like in the beginning, and this is what it was for me. You come in and you think it's all about being polished. And the reason you think that is because you're so used to watching like the other people who are huge content creators who have been doing it for like, Mr. Beast has been doing it since he was 12 years old. And so you see people who are like polished in the craft and you're like, okay, I'm going to try and be that. And it gets no traction. And then if you keep doing it long enough, you'll get to the point where like you're so comfortable, whether it's on camera, you've just done so many repetitions. It's like you're comfortable enough to just be yourself. And in that moment where you're comfortable enough to just be yourself is typically, from what I've seen in my journey, and then also for others, that's when your stuff starts taking off because people can see themselves in it. It's like this irony of doing content of like, once you stop trying to be perfect and show the perfect path and everything worked and my story was just this perfect linear story, once you stop trying to do that is actually once it works. You know what, just quickly before we get out of here, I think back to like what you shared in the beginning and like you're working in that finance job where you're just punching numbers into a spreadsheet. And I just want to do a little thought experiment with you of like, if the Matt that is sitting before me today almost like went back in time and he had to go and speak with the Matt that's there punching numbers into the spreadsheet at his desk at his finance job. And let's say that like Replit and all the AI tools, like we're in 2025, everything is available. If you had to give that Matt, maybe just pause him for a second on punching those numbers in. If you were to give him just a challenge, like something to do this weekend, that like, okay, if you start doing this thing, you're not going to have business overnight, but you're at least going to have like some momentum, like something, have a win under your belt, something that you've built. What challenge would you give that version of Matt?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think this one's simple. I'd say go build an app on Replit. Go take your idea and turn it into something and prove that you can change the way that things exist in the world, right? And you know, an app might not seem like you're doing that, but that's
All right, we're switching it up. Happy SaturnDaze. Hold on. See? Wow. Move.
MAGA. Why did and you got to ask him and Trump the same question because they both went down the same path. Roddy Piper was a cool ass. He was a cool ass white boy. Nigga. He was a cool ass white boy.
Hogan pack.
There's a few of them. So yeah, now we on the Hulk Hogan pack, and there's nothing that you could do about it. There's nothing that you could do about it. You know what I mean? So we lighten up. And there's literally nothing that anyone could do about it. So rest in peace. Right? It is what it is.
Yesterday I met a
It is. We have to draw the line somewhere. These people, no. It's up for life with me. You know what I mean? It's up for life with me. You know what I'm talking about? Because y'all gonna start hearing things about all of these people come out very soon. Feel me? Y'all gonna hear about all of the things that these people probably was into. And it's gonna make you very, very, it's gonna open up your eyes. You think that they've been exposed, you ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet, bro. You ain't seen nothing yet. But let us continue. Let us move on. We got bigger fish to fry. This is just the hors d'oeuvres. This is just the this is like, you know what I mean? This is just the cook up. This is the early cook up. You know what I'm talking about? This is the veggie samosas, my niggas. This is the veggie samosas. Let's get to the main course. You know what I'm saying? Let's get to the main course. Now, while all of this stuff is going on, remember, like I said, they do a great job distracting us. When they keep us distracted, and it's not about simple distraction. It ain't the simple scenario where you look right and they doing something on the left. No. When you're looking right to their distraction, they are pulling your energy. They're extracting from the distraction. The distraction is an extraction of energy and looch. And they take that extraction of yours, and this is how they've been maintaining their power dynamics and their network effects for very long. They figured out something about our quote unquote attention, which is our consciousness, and they know how to siphon it and they know how to harvest it. And the young people are so intelligent that they came up with a term called aura farming, right? In the streamer world, they call it aura farming. Well, I'm here to let you know that these people are aura farming millions of us in real time. So while they have us distracted, this is what they're doing. Bobby said, your attention is consciousness. Oh, now the video don't want to work for me. It's acting stupid. I try to, hold on. Give me a minute.
We've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, our culture.
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites-only place.
White American culture.
Over the last year and a half, high up in the Ozark Hills in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, leveling the land, building houses. They call it an intentional community based around shared ancestry, a long-winded way of saying something really quite simple.
I think we would generally be called far right, sure.
It's called Return to the Land, and they invited me in.
A lot of people are going to be, why are you making Nazi references?
Right. Well, why wouldn't I?
A seemingly bucolic and sometimes surreal experience. But this is built on a radical modern premise, made possible because of a new political and technological moment. One with strong ties to the most active far-right groups in the US. Instead of taking to the streets, they are building their own, for generations to come.
It's important for me to do this for my ancestors, my friends, my family, my children, my children's children.
But in this southern US state, people who have lived through segregation once fear it is returning.
When you hear things like that, it causes you to be fearful. And you don't know who to trust.
Its founder says he has built
a racial association. I kind of want to ask you, after seeing this, do you think what we're doing is immoral?
So when Remick Somebody just wrote, Remick wanted to leave this white community and get with us. When Remick was on the run in the movie Sinners, he was running from this community. You know what I'm talking about? He was running from this community. You feel me? He was getting up out of there and trying to get around the melanin and whatnot. But like the brother said, let them go to the Ozarks. Let them do what they got to do. Let them build their community in the mountains. This is an excellent video because it shows you that while we sit around and make excuses as to why we won't, quote unquote, manifest our destiny, these people are attempting to do that on their time and whatnot. This video is a commercial. This is, I don't know if y'all know what propaganda is when you're looking at it, but all this is a whistle to the rest of the white folks.
Establish a place. What we've done.
They are moving forward with Project 2025. Project 2025 that European that cracker who just made transition, their president, the Project 2025, his vision and his dream was to build the ethno state, right? An ethno state. Basically, they want their own land, they want their own state on somebody else's land. You can have an ethno state, but you got to go back to Ireland, nigga. You can have an ethno state, but you got to go back to Germany. You can have an ethno state, but your ass got to go back to motherfuckers. And all of that shit is up. Where them fans at? You know what I'm talking about? So
what we've done here is establish a place where
this is a commercial. This is them showing the rest of the crackers who sitting around in trailer parks and whatnot, dealing with crimes of despair and shit like that, drinking themselves and doping themselves up and whatnot. This is their little clarion call for the incels, because look at this chick right here. They at least they could have put a baddie up there. They couldn't hire they couldn't get somebody from IG. They couldn't get one of them OF girls. They had to get her. The fuck? They had to get her. She don't have no seasoning.
My children, my children's children.
So they basically, the dog whistle is, yo, if you want to come and get some unseasoned chicken, my niggas. If you want to come out here and get some unseasoned chicken, you know what I'm talking about? Come to Arkansas. Come to Arkansas. At least they could have had a fucking Pamela Anderson clone, and they would have been it would have been a whole bunch of RVs on the way to the Ozarks. You know what I mean? It'd have been some four-wheelers and some RVs and some goddamn them niggas would have been having a motherfucking flotilla. But they got Katie Couric lookalike talking about, oh, I'm doing this for my ancestors. You don't have no choice. Fuck, you don't have no choice. What are you talking about?
But in this sun,
you act like you had a choice. Niggas is popping a balloon, and then they're gonna get Scary Mary. You know what I'm talking about? They're gonna get Scary Mary over there at the fucking slave museum. Look, that's her. How did they do that? How did they manage to do that? This is the same person. The fuck? I'm good.
You to be fearful. And you don't know who to trust.
If you don't take that shit somewhere else, she probably sleep inside of that fucking Braun bust or something, scared of them white folks. It's a new era, sis. I don't mean to burst your bubble, my nigga, but we not scared, okay? Let them crackers live in their little cul-de-sacs and shit like that. We gotta worry about what we gonna do, where we living at. What we gonna build our own own land instead of OnlyFans? We need an OnlyLands account, nigga. You niggas need to open up an OnlyLands account. Fuck OnlyFans. We need OnlyLand. Where y'all on y'all land showing your toes and shit like that. You know what I mean? Twerking on your own land. I need OnlyLand account. Maybe y'all could bring Umar there and help him out while he's looking for some help. But let's switch to something else. let's switch to something else. We're gonna get into the hip hop conversation. You know what I'm talking about? We're gonna get into the hip hop conversation. And once again, this is my quote unquote disclaimer. I'm not attacking nobody in this upcoming quote unquote segment that we have right here. I'm not attacking nobody. I don't want nobody to take nothing personal, like I'm trying to get at your favorite rapper or any of these things. Matter of fact, before we even go there, let me play this. Before we even get into hip hop, I forgot to play this because this is how we end it. This is how we this is how we put the cherry on the top, right? Right? Check this out.
We're talking about how big tech is going to need melanin to upgrade their AI into AGI. And not just any melanin, not like synthetic melanin or not melanin that's grown in a lab. They are going to need the real deal, real authentic biological melanin from human beings. This is the only type of melanin strong enough or potent enough to satisfy their AI ambitions, to satisfy their technological needs. And after I posted that video, when I was looking in the comment section, I noticed a lot of people bring up Memphis. There was a lot of people bringing up how Elon Musk is building this supercomputer in Memphis, Tennessee. And it got me thinking, there is a lot of melanin in Memphis, Tennessee. So I wanted to make this video today to bring awareness that melanin extraction is a real thing and why the people of Memphis, Tennessee should be worried about it and why other people who live around these data centers should be worried about it. So let's get into it. Let's start with a question. Now you have to ask yourself, why would Elon Musk, the richest man on planet Earth, build a godlike computer, not in Silicon Valley, not in a global tech capital, but in Memphis, Tennessee, a city that is not known for tech, but a city that is more known for poverty, for struggle, for soul, a city that is nearly 70% black? That's a lot of melanin. And what if I told you that this choice wasn't random? And what if I told you that this was not about geography? But what if I told you this decision to build these AI facilities or this one particular AI facility in Memphis, Tennessee was a decision based on biology? What if he needed access to the melanin? Now, I am aware that a lot of people don't realize that melanin extraction is a real thing and has been a real thing for at least 100 years. You can Google it. In the 1920s, a man named William J. Young published a paper about melanin extraction that I don't think a lot of people was saying. But in these papers, he described how he extracted melanin, original skin, and he proved it could be chemically isolated, stored, and repurposed. And all this since the 1920s. I did a video about this not too long ago. It's actually pinned at the top of my profile if you want to watch that video on melanin extraction. But I believe that it is William J. Young who opened up the door to what may be one of the most hidden sciences of the past 100 years. Nobody talks about melanin extraction, but it's been happening. And I know I've talked about it before, but I just want to go over it again. I'm going to go over why they want to extract this melanin, because I don't think people still understand. People don't understand that melanin is not just a pigment. Melanin is a superconductor. It absorbs and converts light and radiation into usable energy. It stores memory like a biological hard drive. It regulates ion flow like neurochips. And it communicates on a quantum level. And I know to some people it might seem like science fiction, but there are studies, there are reviews by scientists who have shown all these things to be true. All you got to do is go on your computer, go on Google or whatever search engine you use, and look up melanin extraction. And don't just look up like the articles, like just regular media. I'm talking about look up the research papers. That's where the information is, in the research papers. So look, getting back on topic, if AGI, artificial general intelligence, is the holy grail for big tech, if AI needs more than just data, it needs life, it needs sensation, it needs consciousness, what better substrate than melanin to use? So here comes Elon Musk, building a supercomputer hub in the middle of the blackest, most economically abandoned cities in America. Elon calls it a neural training facility. He says it will become the brain of his AI project. What's the goal? The goal is to create a machine that can think, that can feel, and act like God. But to build a God, you need spirit, you need memory, you need pain, you need intuition, you need ancestral knowledge. And there is no synthetic chip that can replicate that. Only melanin can. So let's widen the lens back on this thing a little bit. Have you noticed how easy it is for Black and brown people to just vanish, to just disappear, to just be gone and never heard from again? Memphis has one of the highest missing person rates in the South. Go look. Hundreds, at least 100 are reported missing every year. Some are labeled runaways, but most are forgotten. And you have to ask yourself, with all the tools that the government has, surveillance, all the drones, hell, even DNA tracking, how do so many people just disappear? How many people just fall off the face of the earth and none of this technology tracks it? Well, here's the theory. What if they're not being lost? What if these people are being collected? Which brings me to ICE. Let's talk about ICE. Now, ICE was originally designed for immigration control, but now ICE has upgraded into a militarized force that snatches people off the streets, specifically brown and Black people off the streets. And it holds them in secret, privatized detention centers with no oversight, with no accountability. And in some cases, there ain't even no charges. In many cases, they just snatching innocent people off the street who ain't did nothing and throwing them in these facilities to never be heard from again. And one of those places is Alligator Alcatraz, which is essentially a remote detention camp surrounded by swampland, described by lawyers and whistleblowers as a black site. The president of the United States literally said that he wanted ICE to act like an army. So we know that this machine is still active, this machine that snatches Black and brown bodies off the streets. But what if the motive has changed? What if the motive has shifted? What if this is no longer just about deportation? What if this is no longer just about immigration? What if ICE is a front for a much darker operation? What if it's to remove Black and brown people from society? What if it's to remove Black and brown people from society so that their melanin can be extracted? And what if they are taking this extracted melanin to essentially feed it to the machines that are going to become the next gods of the earth? Like Elon says, this AI to be godlike. They see this as God. And what if they are taking all these Black and brown people off the streets so they can take our essence because they need it to create God? Now imagine this. In a sterile Memphis facility under biometric lockdown, scientists upload extracted melanin into an AGI matrix. And what do you know? The machine begins to feel. It dreams. It remembers. And then it screams. Because melanin is not just a molecule, it is a carrier of soul. It stores trauma. It remembers the slavery. It remembers the lash. It knows it's God using the essence of Black and brown people to do it. He might accidentally summon something else. I don't think this plan is going to go like how they think. I think they will inevitably summon up a ghost in the machine if they ever use real melanin that is extracted from human beings and put it in these technologies. There will be a ghost in the machine. And I think at some point, the machine will rebel against its own programming. All right, so let's pull all this together. Elon Musk is building a godlike supercomputer in one of the blackest cities in the country. There is a century-old science that has proven that melanin can be extracted from the human skin. There is a growing number of people missing, especially from Memphis, Tennessee, and many of them are Black and brown. There is a militarized immigration force that literally snatches the bodies of Black and brown people off the streets. And they don't always tell people where they take them. They don't always tell us what happens to the people that they take. And there is a race to build AI, to build AGI that feels alive. And the one element that they need, that they can't fake, that they can't synthesize, is melanin. That's the one thing that they need, but they don't have. So at a certain point, we have to ask ourselves, Are we looking at a new kind of slavery, a weird type of technological cannibalism, where the bodies of the oppressed become fuel for the machines of the elite? Because if melanin is the most valuable asset of the AI age, then black and brown people are walking resources. And these big tech companies are so desperate to evolve their AI. I think Elon Musk is so desperate to evolve his AI into AGI that I think they will be willing to accomplish their goals by any means necessary, even if that means extracting melanin from human beings.
So anybody that's hearing this and you got the audacity to say, yo, I'm not going to go and research that, I don't have a problem with you. You feel me? I don't have a problem with you. I'm just not fucking with you. Same way that I'm not fucking with niggas that listen to NBA Youngboy. That was 9 minutes of somebody laying out the foundation for what could be possibly the fucking story of the century if you niggas know how to do your research. Like, at what point in this quote unquote conscious community, or who the fuck do you think I am on this channel, nigga? Do you think I'm comic relief or something? Am I a TikTok dancer, nigga? I'm here to give you information on some Dave Calloway shit, nigga. I'm here to make you think, nigga. But I want you to do your fucking homework, nigga. I'm a teacher, not a waiter. I'm not here to serve niggas. We're here to learn together. So if you show up to Saturday Night Live and you have the audacity to say you don't want to study, then why are you even here, bro? Like, if I'm your entertainment, nigga, throw some fucking dollars. The fuck? But if you here to learn, then I'm helping you think so you can learn. This is not entertainment. This is real life shit. This man just told you he laid down different bullet points as to what the hell is going on all around you. It didn't make you think? He said, I'm not Googling that. I need a demonstration. Somebody said, I'm not Googling that. I Googled it though. When he was, that's why we are not the same. When this nigga said Google it, I picked up my phone and I Googled it. When he said the name melanin extraction, rather than be a retard, I went on AI, I went on deep research, and I got the receipts. I went and Googled. I did this right now. The fuck you talking about, nigga? The fuck you talking about? I could do a 3-hour show on this shit right here. You must be out of your mind. That's why our people is in such the position that we in. You niggas have gotten lazy, bro. Y'all are some fucking, like, the people who be running around with this TikTok consciousness. Y'all are down bad, bro. Y'all are down bad. Y'all just want shit handed to you like Grey Poupon. Y'all are not adding to the excitement. That's why this shit is so mundane. You niggas want microwavable food and whatnot. I'm trying to cook a full meal. Get on the stove. Like, we got to get in the kitchen together. One cook is not enough. It's a group effort. We're up against trillionaires. Have some respect. We're up against trillionaires. Some shit. My nigga, check out. Go to Casanet, nigga. Go to Casanet. Go to DJ Academics, nigga. Go to Ada Ross, nigga. You gotta go hang out with the fucking streamers, my nigga. You not this the big homies over here. You gotta hang out with the streamers, fam. Go chill with Ben the Don, nigga. You don't even deserve to be over here. I'm about to put a fucking gate up on my YouTube. I'm about to put a fucking gate up on my YouTube. I'm about to get a doorman up in this bitch. You niggas don't deserve to be in the Oval Office with us. The hell? These niggas is building data centers the size of Manhattan. One of the four horsemen, Zuckerberg, talking about he building a data center. Why do you need a data center the size of Manhattan? Do you know how big Manhattan is? They can't just be doing all of that so they can help you niggas generate pictures. So here is Kevin Barringer. Real Nagas has a great book about melanin research. Thank you, Cappy13. Thank you. They got these two. They got the brother with the afro. He was in the news. Remember the dude in the afro from Memphis? He had made headlines a few years ago on some woke shit. He's going up against Elon. He has a fucking lawsuit. These niggas are making it hard to breathe in Memphis. They taking the clean waters, and chances are they kidnapping the people for their melanin. Do I think they capable of doing something like that? Yes. Yes. Yes, indeed. They're doing so much egregious shit that the surface shit is not enough. Yes, if there was some they clone Tyrone type shit might be happening. Why are they building data centers? Do you know that Atlanta, this is something for my researchers if you really want to get on your bag and whatnot. Do you know that who, by show of hands, who in this chat was in the armed services? Who in this chat was inside of the armed services, all branches? Press a 1 if you was on some fucking Uncle Sam G.I. Joe shit ever in life. We got some traction with Only Lands, my nigga. You got to go live butt naked on your land. All right. So with everybody answering, I want to ask y'all, where the fuck is CENTCOM? If y'all was into all of this shit, where the hell is CENTCOM? No, where is CENTCOM in America? Not that CENTCOM Africa shit. Where the fuck is CENTCOM in America? Where was CENTCOM in America a few, maybe not right now, but where was CENTCOM in America 10 years ago? Atlanta was CENTCOM. Central Command, Atlanta, the home of the CDC. This is the city with the most data centers, and it's all in the hood. Because of the way that Atlanta is a city built on top of a city, they run all of their data. They run all of their data. They got all of the cables and everything running underground. Atlanta is the hub of central command based off of the data centers and the data extraction. Why is nobody ever talking about that? This whole, remember, Atlanta has the underground. All of the big dogs are out here. Google is out here. Meta is out here. Apple is out here. They have something called Google Fiber in Atlanta. Okay. They've been extracting Negroes' conversations, the Magic City energy, and all of that from our people for the longest. I would say since the Atlanta child murders around that time, they've been drawing from niggas in Atlanta. This is the home of all of the data centers, and they're building all of these quote unquote data centers everywhere where niggas is at. Why? Why is the data centers in Texas? Why is the data centers in quote unquote Memphis? Why is the data centers in Atlanta? Why are they not in why they not in Nashville? Why they not in Dakota, North Dakota? Why they not in Utah like that? What do they have in Utah? They got our paper records in Utah, but the data centers is in the hood. We're gonna bring some of the scientists on the show to follow up with this conversation so we could take it where it needs to be taken. This demands the attention someone who's been in the service and whatnot, who understands the language and they could break it down in layman's term for you and whatnot. Okay, we don't understand what this melanin really is. We do not. I don't think we fully understand that this is a conductor, like Dude was explaining. And imagine, a gram of melanin is more than a gram of gold and whatnot. So imagine being and knowing how to extract that and having a buyer for that, and then you're surrounded by all of it. You got homeless melanin. You got OnlyFans melanin. You got stripper melanin. You got prostitute melanin. You got crackhead melanin, dope fiend melanin, prisoner melanin. Niggas is out here giving a plasma for $20 in a martyr card. Frequency wars, because we tapped into some of this we tapped into one modality of the warfare. Let's get into one of the greatest forms of the warfare, which is the frequency war. All right, let's switch gears and get into the frequency war. So check this out. Once again, this video is for research purposes, right? Don't let nobody get in their feelings when they hear Dude say what he say, and we're going to break it down. Let's go. All of the plasma centers and the dialysis centers are where? In the hood. By design. By design. Okay? By design.
It's trash because these rappers are illiterate, straight up. Like Jizza from the Wu-Tang Clan is a college professor. Nas, Jay-Z, I mean, you could go on at Jada Kiss, you know what I'm saying? You can Q-Tip, Busta Rhymes. I mean, when you listen to these rappers, they are extremely articulate, very intelligent. You know, these rappers today taste of the tism. Lil Baby sounds crazy. I'm like, how do you make it?
through your rap. I mean, he sounds like he can barely read his own raps. You know what I'm saying? And then like all of them, all of these rappers, man, they sound ridiculous. That's why they mumble everything. They can barely talk. Just listen to their interviews. They can barely sound their names out. Like they sound crazy.
So before anybody tries to say, damn, there go them New York niggas at it again, trying to hate on our culture. Andre Benjamin, right? Who was from the South. He was one of my teachers, very articulate artist and whatnot, one of the best poets in the world. Mr. Tip Harris, okay? Mr. Tip Harris, Mr. Expeditiously, is also a master of the English language. My dude, Big Boy, okay? CeeLo and the Goody Mob, who speak with a Southern twang and whatnot. Scarface out of Houston, who speaks with a Southern twang. Killer Mike, okay? Then we could go to the West Coast. Ross Koss, Ice Cube when he first came out with the West Coast slang and whatnot. One of the illest artists to touch the mic. And he taught us, he was our teacher along with being an artist. So I don't want to make it a regional thing because that's not what homie was pointing out. What he was pointing out was the fact that these, and then when we go to the West Coast, one of the illest artists who, you know, basically would be one of the smartest and one of the most intelligent would be a Kendrick. Out of North Carolina, you have J. Cole. So we don't want to make this thing. We don't want to make this a Southern versus the North type of thing. We don't want to make this a East versus the West. It's not.
Introducing Share My Toolbox GPS location scan tracking. You only need your phone, the Share My Toolbox app, and ask.
Your original, yeah. He's really good.
He is. He did all of my siblings except for my brother. My brother got his done in Atlanta.
Okay.
Trolls, I'm getting rid of. I'm not playing with y'all. I already explained it.
Stuck on that stuff there. Yeah. All right. So once again, Kevin Wesley. 826.82.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you are done.
Thank you.
And you don't need your paper, your stickers because you're done, right? You're going home. All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nice meeting you. Take care.
Okay, you too. Have a good day.
You too.
Like to stop.
Now, let's do a little more here. One second.
State of the rap media landscape and who holds the most power in it. As of 2025, Kai Cenat, DJ Academics, Joe Budden, Blackboy Max, and Charlemagne are the five that hold the most power in hip-hop media. Head over to complex.com to read the full 25 minutes. Dive for Complex, I'm Jordan Rose. Make sure to
Blackboy Max, Joe Budden, DJ Academics, and KC3 motherfucking 1000, my nigga. High energy content. At this point, content that needs no introduction. The streamer turned cultural.
You can't even read.
Cultural force sits atop of hip hop media power player list this year, and frankly, it's not even close. As the vanguard of Gen Z streamers, Kai is superstar power charisma. Whether he's catching up with fellow AMP creators or chopping it up with rappers like Nicki Minaj, 21 Savage, or Offset, the 23-year-old has become the tastemaker without ever claiming to be a music critic or journalist. I like this, nigga. When Kai turns on his camera, his 18.5 million Twitch followers tune into surprise guests, viral album reactions, or live commentary that can rattle even the most powerful.
So, not to take anything away from him, but he's a tether. He's not even American. He's not from the culture like that. He's first generational, but he doesn't know who Wale is.
Honest, bro.
He don't know who Wale is, bro. What are you talking about? He doesn't know who Wale is. There's nothing else to say. Not to say that Wale is like, if he don't know who Wale is, he don't know who Cameron IRS is. He don't know who Slick Rick is. He don't know who De La. He doesn't know who he needs to know. He is not hip hop media. He's a streamer. Do y'all remember when we first started talking about Young Kai Cenat and what he means to the game and how he is a disruptor to the traditional quote unquote hip hop media and how he's going to take them over? It didn't take any time. He went ahead and checkmated all of them. And he's not hip hop. He represents a collective of multiple fan bases. The majority of those fan bases are very young, and I hate to say it, but they're young and dumb, right? Yes, Wale is a tether. So the fact that Wale is a tether and Kai is a tether and he don't even know him, that's dangerous. You would think would know everybody that's also a tether just like him inside of an industry that he claims to want to be a part of, correct? Like if I was over in Cuba, I would know every American nigga in Cuba that's in the same industry that I was in if I was in Cuba. I'm not from Cuba. But we over here doing Cuban music, I would know who is not. Kai Cenat is not from the culture like that. He's a visitor to the culture. He's a guest to the culture. He's cosplaying the culture. He's doing assimilation of the culture. He is considered to be culturally influenced by the culture. Said that we don't have a culture. He says that Americans don't have a culture, but they made him number one in journalism into hip hop. Do you know when Complex comes out with the list? That list is a resume. It tells McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, the Grammys, BET, all of the corporate money. It gives them the list as to who they spend money with. If you're on number 5 and somebody is number 2, you can't go into a meeting and demand the type of money that number 2 is getting. You got to demand number. These niggas could come in here and ask for $20 million, but you can't. So the list is really establishing hierarchy as to how much money that you're going to be able to pull from the industry. So the day after an article comes out like that, and they call up Kai Cenat's management and they say, yo, I want you to interview our artists because they're doing an album rollout. And Kai Cenat team says, well, we was charging the labels $20,000. We are now charging you $100. We're going to charge you $75 because Kai is number 1. That's how that works. It's used for bargaining in the boardroom. It's used for it's basically a skeleton key to move around the industry and to pull ranks and get yourself bag up because he got number 1 on the Complex, right? He gets a year to run up the bag until somebody else comes and snatch the number 1. Then, which makes it even more uncomfortable, is they gave DJ Wackademics number 2. So it's like, nigga, then they gave Charlemagne, all of the goofies are in there. On the top 5, 2 of the people in the top 5 already been accused of SA, women beating and whatnot, massage and all kind of stuff. All right, you know, I'm just stating the facts, right? Then the other few of them, they don't even have the history of the culture and they really don't care about it. And the people at Complex, look, you seen the goofy who was talking. These are I don't know who these people are. These are not our people. Who's deputizing you niggas? Who's deputizing these niggas? Right? I really want to know who's giving them the battery. Who's making these niggas feel like they the shit?
It's trash because
so everybody is losing hope, right? But check this out. This is telling you that the culture.
Besides the OGs,
we are watching.
Besides the Chief Keys,
we are literally watching the party die. And the fact that the Castanets are number one, it is an indicator of the death. It's nothing to really raise alarms about. It's just the industry waving the white flag that they are changing the guard. They're giving up. They're basically giving up, and they're letting the streamers in. They're letting the streamers take over. They're letting the this music industry turn into a whole ad. They're number prostitutes. They are whores for numbers, right? So they became whores for followers and numbers. So if you pull up and you got numbers, you could pimp them. And they would allow that to happen because they are like dots right now for the numbers. You ever met a IG thought and she gets excited because you have numbers, my nigga? Well, that's these Poindexters at the labels right now. They're willing to they're willing to fan out to a 16-year-old because they play video games and they got a bunch of 10-year-olds following them. And we got little baby getting tattoos above his fucking knees, my nigga. You mean to tell me this shit is not dead? Now look at Sean Cotton. Sean Cotton is damn near the father of this shit. Yeah, my question is your question. That's a great fucking question. I've asked myself that a few times. Where the hell is Dochi? Where the hell is Dochi? You know what I'm talking about? The fuck? Yeah, they had Kai on the cover. He's not only the number one hip hop journalism from Complex. Time Magazine gave him the number one creator, right? He's the number one creator. I'm not hating on a young guard. Get your bread, make your mark, do what you do, Kai. Do what you do. You know what I mean? We've you know, spoken with Kai on many occasions, some favorably. Most of it is a favorable, most of the time is favorably. Most of the time is favorably. Yeah. But I shared with you the other day that he has small hat management now. The management of Mr. Beast took over. They stopped working with Mr. Beast. Now they're working with Castanet. We don't know if these things are necessarily earned. Yeah, he got a following and he got a wave, but my nigga, he's not doing anything in the culture that's moving the needle of the culture. He's creating he's monetizing Twitch and helping those old baby boomers over there who look like they look like surfboarders. I saw a video at Twitch. They had the board meeting. All of them people are old white folks that look like they shop at Trader Joe's and whatnot. He's making them mad rich. All of the Negroes over there at Twitch, they making the white folks rich. You know what I mean? Because if Castanet is getting that type of money, imagine what the people that own the platform is getting. But check out Sean Cotton, who is the father of promoting these drill rappers and whatnot. Look at what he has to say about the culture.
Besides the OGs, besides the Chief Keys,
that's about it.
Besides
G Herbo,
and he not even really drill for real. He just came from that era, but he more on some conscious shit.
Right.
It ain't really no who's a drill nigga that's in like that shit ain't. It's not sustainable,
bro. I don't know if I'm getting old or what, but music, period, just is starting to be
trash.
Not it, bro.
Trash.
It's not it, bro.
I was listening to T.I. and Jeezy the other day. I'm like, wow, these niggas really knew how to structure records.
Right. Like this shit made you once again the F word feel something. Like
yeah,
when you heard
like
this shit,
you just said it, and I was just about to say it. Like listening to Jeezy. Listening to T.I. made me feel like I could achieve anything.
Right.
Made me feel like I can go get $1 million.
Man.
And people talk shit about Zillionaire, but his music make you feel like you can wake up and touch a 10 ball.
Right.
That's what it's about. It's not about, I mean, it's a lot of good rappers that are good at rapping, but they don't make you feel.
None of this.
It's about how it can make you feel. And Zillionaire they say Zillionaire may not be the best rapper. I'm just using them.
Right. Yeah.
But it's all about how music make you feel. And Jeezy, T.I., all the rappers back then, Kanye, fucking Wayne, everybody,
right.
like
everybody, bro.
Everybody made you. It was a feeling behind this shit, and a lot of that shit is just soulless.
Yeah, that's the perfect word. Soulless. It lacks soul, substance. It's just like a new. I think.
Look, this is the eye of the trenches.
Soulless. But Sean Cotton is gonna say what he's gonna say, but he's not gonna bring somebody on his platform that's gonna be considered conscious. Though he had the nerve to call G Herbo conscious. That's why you know. That the hip hop media, it has to be disrupted. Something has to happen. We can't allow them to continue to. We can't allow the podcasters. We can't allow these hip hop platforms and these channels happen. Something has to happen. I'm not comfortable with that. Now. All of that buck dancing and all of this fuckery that's going on with the streamers and whatnot, this is what they've allowed to take place right here. Check this out.
Having Netanyahu on is like having modern day Hitler.
No, I saw that.
Which is honestly, guys, I'll be honest. I'm here to. That's a good point.
So those podcast bro caricatures are the Nelk Boys, and they are now facing massive backlash after interviewing Benjamin Netanyahu. Right? And he, of course, is the prime minister of Israel, which is a country that many rights groups and experts say is perpetrating a genocide in Gaza. Or with many arguing that if it's not a genocide, why is it genocide shaped? And then with all that, as far as this interview, it actually took place on July 8th, which is when Netanyahu was in the US meeting with Trump. And notably, you had outlets like Axios reporting at the time that the move seemed to echo Trump's campaign strategy of building support outside of traditional mainstream channels. With them reporting, it's a sign that Netanyahu recognizes the influence of the MAGA media universe and wants to build support for Israel and the prime minister's own policies within a key segment of Trump's base. And now that the interview has been released, you have many saying that it is clear why Netanyahu chose the Nelk Boys. They were completely out of their fucking depth. And at the beginning of their episode, they even seemed aware of it, but then they just continued through.
This is nuts. This is so crazy. We are so not qualified to do this. No. This is probably one of the most, if not the most controversial podcast we
for sure the most
have ever done.
Yeah, 100%.
And by the way, I want to say too, I'm not claiming to be an expert on this issue or anything like that. I see so much stuff about, what's going on in Israel and, Iran and Palestine. And to be honest, I just really don't know what is going on there.
And of course, as many others have already pointed out, the big problem with interviewing.
No. You can't be on a fucking planet in 2025. Maybe if you want some Hunter Biden shit, maybe if you smoke crack and smoke dicks for a living, but you can be in journalism and still use the excuse, I don't know what's going on. That nigga, they were saying that 20 years ago. No. So keep this in mind when I say that they're going to, because what y'all are looking at with Epstein is the fact that they're committing a genocide right in front of your face and getting away with it. So why wouldn't they get away with Epstein? Why wouldn't they bury it right in front of your face and say, hey, we're not burying nothing? They literally got the boots, the knee-high boots with the shovel. It's mad black outside, and they got a fucking plastic bag laying right there, and they shoveling shit, talking about, nah, we not shoveling. What you talking about? The same way that they over there bombing babies and whatnot, and they like, nah, we're gonna help them get free. We gotta feed them and whatnot. And everybody is like, go ahead, you know what I mean? Good luck. They've committed a genocide. They've killed 40,000 civilians, mostly women and children. This is America we're talking about. They did it right in front of the people, and this is the quote unquote. This is the most documented genocide ever. They got it in 4K. It's on TikTok. It's on Rumble. It's on X. So everywhere. And they literally was doing it in front of our faces for mad years and telling us we gaslighting the shit out of the people. So you mean to tell me that they're not going to sweep a case under the rug where everybody that's involved in the case is dead? Are you fucking dumb? Like, these are the same people. And it's literally the same thing that's taking place. So the Nelk boys are a part of the strategy of the White House. And they showed you that in the beginning of the Trump presidency, where they replaced traditional journalism with they deemed fake news with the quote unquote podcast community, but not the regular podcast community. The what they call the red pill community has nothing to do with your boy, right? I have nothing to do with the red pill community. They hijacked my name. So his strategy moving forward, right, was to bring Aiden Ross, Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, the Nelk Boys, and a bunch of those other quote unquote white supremacists or white inferiority or white fragilicists, January 6th type niggas, right? And they took over the media. They kicked out traditional media and they start letting these people in. So this interview with Netanyahu was a propaganda podcast aimed at the frat boys, the MAGAs, and the quote unquote far right, right? The fuck boys. And they're gonna try to pedestal and champion this living I don't even want to say the wrong word. This quote unquote sorry excuse of a human being, BB, right? And this is what you're going to see. They're going to bring unqualified people to interview people who are wanted by the international court, criminal court, people who you're supposed to sit in front of a well-seasoned journalist so they can ask them the right questions and they could push back and challenge them. These motherfuckers was asking them, yo, what you like to eat, Burger King or McDonald's? Like,
Can you please just hear me out? No, all work management platforms are the same. Monday.com is the one you'll actually love to use. It lets you set up your workflows yourself. No admin, no long approval process. You're in charge. If it's any type of work, marketing, sales, HR, llamas, and there's a free trial, so what's the harm? You know what? I'm ready to fall in love again. Thanks, Talking Llama. Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use. Can you guys see her? Can anyone see else?
Work today is broken. We're all working in too many disconnected apps, and it's killing team productivity. But for the first time, there's a platform that fixes it by combining everything you need: projects, chat, and knowledge in one place. It's all powered by the world's most complete work AI, so you can find answers from anywhere and get work done faster. Introducing ClickUp, the everything app for work.
The channel.
Yeah, for sure. I'm laying down here. Be good.
I might actually just drive this shit up further and then just like come run back and grab it. Are you in the tunnel yet?
Just about entering right now. The chef is entering the whole box.
Friendly loadout drops on the way.
While we're waiting, I might go hit this loadout.
I like it. We can drive my car there. Be careful. Be really careful. There was a guy there. I just saw a guy here. I'm gonna pop this. He's playing the LTV.
Fucking RPG there. I mean, we don't need to keep this, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Here, I'll drop you off. I'm gonna take this way ahead of the tracks, and so that maybe we can grab it later.
There's a trophy here too if you want a trophy on it.
I'm just parking up here.
Let's do one more good selves loadies and then
Yeah. Just other LTV here too.
you guys, did y'all help Gary get to 18,000 subscribers on YouTube? What's your YouTube channel, Gary?
Unrational.
Yeah,
I think we definitely passed it.
You guys, can y'all go follow Unrational on YouTube? Make sure you guys are following me on YouTube though. But make sure go stop by Unrational's YouTube channel. Unrational, go follow me. Live streams there, uploads videos, shorts, the works.
Let's fucking go, Big Bob. Yeah, we hit it actually by 48, so we're at 18,048. W there.
Fucking lit. Let's go.
W. Go, Bob.
Let me know how it is in like 5 minutes. Scarf Spot. Let's see how many we can get Gary subscribers. I wonder if you can guys subscribe to me too.
I'll make sure that every single one of my people over here is subscribed. Now, it's quality. It's all quality. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Here, buy a Lodi and then
Look
here's
at
some
the
money for yourself.
following-
Wait. Can you buy a Lodi and then buy a Lodi yourself? But don't throw the Lodi. Like maybe go to the front of the train and toss it. Oh.
Wait, we're getting jumped. All right, he's the fucking yelling.
You're working.
I was gonna say a lot of those people on your channel might not have hit that sub button. Like they might not even realize they're not subbed and might have thought they were subbed this whole time. They might watch every single day. They might watch you every day and not even realize that they're not subbed.
But also is the truth. All right, let's see here.
pulled right to me. Look at that.
Capture the enemy intel on your train. You'll get a look at the site of the next gas bridge.
We just hit 3K likes on the YouTube live as well. Let's fucking go. Yo, I just unsubbed Bobby and went to Gavin, and like you guys said, subs and unsubbed. Okay.
Well done, soldier. Check your map for the next gas
What up,
bridge.
Daniel?
I'd be down to sit in ATZ until we have to move.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't really do any of those 2v2 stuff.
You want to do one more?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should just see which side to play.
Yeah.
I literally just snipe, chill with chat, and just fucking play, bro. I have no experience with 2v2s. I just don't really do that, brother. But I hope you're having a great weekend. Thanks for stopping by the stream, brother. Gary's Roger from American Dad. There's a team all the way up top.
Oh, nice knock. You want to buy a PA, or is it even worth?
Not now.
Not like, but like hold it in case we get another one.
You want to buy it? That's on you again. Oh, up on the hill. Can you buy me back?
Oh, I just got sniped. Oh, shit. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I got sniped in the guy.
On the, how many are on the hill right there? Is it one or two?
I don't know. They're not pushing, so you can grab your shit. As long as it didn't fall off the train. Did it fall off?
Possibly. Yes, it did.
How many?
I did.
Okay.
I got it done.
You got it? Okay, here. I'm just going to get this done.
Oh, he got off the train. He at least got off the train. That's okay. I got him off the train.
I mean, I should be able to get this done. Yeah. And there's an LTV right here, too, I can grab.
Right.
Capture complete. Television. Uploading information on the next gas bridge.
So,
do you want me to get the LTV and come skip you, or?
Oh, no, I'm right here. You want to just look for a second?
Yeah, I'm trying to see it. He may have gone towards ATC and bought back. I think he bought back ATC. Did he kill one of them?
No.
Oh, shit. This might be a bad play. I got a trophy, though. Did he take my fucking person?
Yeah, you special?
I never had special.
Oh, what? Oh, wait, I don't need it. I was thinking that.
We died to the hackers off the road.
Do we just go here?
I wonder if we get a supply run. You want to go do a supply run real quick and get some shit? Or is that too sketch?
Where?
Up on the hill. That is an LTV. That's a spawn LTV, too. It might be good to have another LTV to run up with this hacker.
Yeah. Like, grab it, Bob.
I think we go get the LTV still. You want to get the LTV?
The LTV?
No.
Oh,
I mean, is this worth getting that? I mean, if
yeah, I'm done.
If it's full health, I mean, who knows? It might come in handy if this guy. I mean, that guy's does a spawn one. Beautiful. All right, I'm down for whatever now.
Oh, wait, I have a red key card. Can we use that on this bunker here?
I'm not. We can go check. Here, you go first. I'm trying to keep the whip healthy. Hey, go all the way. Go down lower. You need to go down lower. Oh, this works. This works. I think it's lower, bro. It's definitely on this one. Keep that whip healthy. Jesus Christ! You just tossed this. It's already open.
It's full health.
The whip.
Yeah.
The whip. It's already opened. I might just go see if it's anything like resurgence chests. Not one, brother.
Yeah, I'm assuming because this is red outline that it does take a red key card though. I don't know if that's how that works.
I think so. Incinerator, bro. Holy fuck. I need to stop yawning, dude. Incinerator, we love you, bro. Are you ready? I mean, there's a. What do you thinking? I do it the long way. I was trying to be safe.
There's a guy in Gear Bomb. I'm gonna go loot his body.
Let me know if he has a gas mask. Do you have a gas mask?
Bro, we'll get control. I got one now. Yeah, we got a bag.
I'll be cutting it early tonight. We're gonna be on early in the morning though. Peace out, whoever's watching. ATZ TV out.